Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Welcome to Singapore. I'm going to tell you something about Singapore. First of all, has anyone been to Singapore? Oh, a couple of you have been to Singapore. Well, that's great. Well, what is Singapore? Where is Singapore? What is Singapore like? Singapore is an island nation. It's a small island. It's situated on the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula. You've got Malaysia to the north. You've got Indonesia to the south. It's the only island city-state, sovereign city-state in the world. It's small. The total population is about 5.5 million. It's only about 30 kilometers east to west and about 30 kilometers north to south, so you can drive around the island in about an hour, hour and a half. Nevertheless, it is a major banking, commercial, transportation, oil refining center in the world. It's situated almost on the equator, so it's got a very hot, tropical climate. So this is referred to as the Singapore Strait. Now, you can, anytime you look out into the Singapore Strait, you can see hundreds and hundreds of boats because there's so much maritime traffic between the west and the east. All this traffic goes through the South China Sea and goes around into the Singapore Strait. So freedom of navigation for all countries is very important because all countries are shipping in this area. Here's a photo that shows the huge container port. Here's a photo just showing, I took this photo, by the way, that's why it's so wonderful. But it's got hundreds of ships out there. Now, Singapore is a mixture of different nationalities. You've got 4 major languages, 4 official languages in Singapore. You have English, fortunately, Chinese, Malay, and Tamil, which is a language from India. About 3/4 of the population of Singapore is of Chinese descent. Mostly these are people who came to China as traders after the British established Singapore as a trading colony around 1820. But you have Hindus and Muslims that came mostly from India or Bangladesh or Sri Lanka. You've got Malays who came from Malaysia, obviously, and all these mixing together in a wonderful melting pot. Originally, these minorities lived in what is known as Chinatown. And so Chinatown had populations from Malaysia, from India, and Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. This also shows a scene from that I took. I took this photo in January, so it was just prior to the Chinese New Year, and so they were getting ready for the Chinese New Year celebration. Now, those from India have their own enclave, which they call Little India. Charming, really. It's just fun to go visit these places, and the Malays or the people of the Muslims, they have their own quarter, if you will. They call it Arab Street. And again, charming architecture, very colorful, exciting place to wander. And of course, a big mosque. But in Chinatown itself, there are three marvelous temples. You have a Hindu temple, this Sri Mariamman or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced, but look at all of the intricate carving here. This is not a large temple, but it's really extremely colorful and fascinating. You have Jame Mosque, which is a Muslim mosque, which, if you're not Muslim, you can't enter all the way to the back of the mosque, but you can enter the courtyard or the inner, the first portion of the building you can enter. And then you have a Buddhist temple, which I guess is translated as the Tooth Relic Temple. This one is not as ancient as the other ones. In fact, this one is built in the, I think, just the late 20th century, I believe. But in any event, in India, there's a cultural center. In Little India, there's a cultural center that is really a must-see. You know, if you're going to Singapore, you want to go into each of these areas and visit their cultural centers. In Arab Street, there's also a cultural center for the Malay population. There are many other things too. I found one of the most fascinating things to do is to visit the Museum of Asian Civilizations. So it covers all of Asia. It covers the religious traditions from India to China and Japan and Korea and so on. It covers all of the trading and the economic activity. Just a wonderful place. Another thing about Singapore is you have this little river, the Singapore River, and lining this river, you've got venues like this. This is the Padang, which is where they play rugby and polo. You've got this great skyline in the back. You've got boating on the river, fabulous. You've got restaurants lining the river. You've got famous, huge, luxurious hotels, the Fullerton Hotel, the Raffles Hotel. You have a Raffles Hotel in Beijing, by the way. You know that? It used to be something else, now it's the Raffles Hotel. But this Sir Stanford Raffles, he could be considered the father of Singapore because he was this Brit who came to the area in 1819 and made a treaty with the local Malay chief. And within a few years after that, Singapore was part of Malaysia, but it became a British colony. But Raffles, there's a Raffles School where all the famous government leaders went to, sort of a high school. And there's a Raffles Place. It is a big skyscraper in the central business district here of Singapore. And from there, you can see this fabulous harbor and marina waterfront. I'll tell you about the Merlion in a minute here. But you have the Marina Bay Sands Hotel, a fabulous hotel. Swimming pool up here on the roof. Casinos down below. Here's another one from another view. And then you have the Singapore Flyer, which is like the Eye in Tianjin. You've been there maybe? I was actually there just last weekend. Or like the Eye in London. Fantastic. And then a big theater auditorium complex here. This modern one here. So many things to see. You could wander around this city for days and and not really see everything there is to see. Now the symbol of Singapore is the merlion. I call it the merlion. Half fish, half lion. You can see the lion head and the fish body with the water spewing out. A very, very important tourist venue. Hundreds and thousands of people coming down here to see this, and everybody wants their picture taken with the merlion, or the merlion. But it's become the symbol of Singapore. There's another view. If you look carefully, you can see the jet of water streaming out of its mouth there. And there are other things. There's a night safari where you can see animals in a tropical habitat, but it's at night, so it's hard to photograph because they don't have lights trained on these animals for obvious reasons. These are nocturnal animals, but there's a fire-eating exhibition also to start it out, so this is very popular. There are other things, Universal Studios, and in a lot of major metropolises, there's a hop-on, hop-off tourist bus that can be enjoyed. But I would say that something that is very unique is the reverse bungee. Now, you know what a bungee jump is. You jump off a tall building or a bridge. I've done that in New Zealand. But this is a reverse bungee. So you start in this chair, if you will, and you're down below, and then you are pushed up into the air. You're ejected really high, really fast. Now, there's a lot of screaming going on up there. I can promise you that. But this is really something special. So anyway, I hope you enjoy Singapore, and those of you who haven't been there yet, I hope the day comes when you will be able to visit Singapore. Thank you very much.